Self-care is so important during these times where, there are all of these things happening in the world that are just chipping away at who we are, our happiness, and our well-being. Welcome to the Writing on My Mind podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emmanuela Stanislaus, doctorate coach and diversity consultant. I finished my doctorate in 4 years while working full-time, traveling the world, and balancing a busy social life, and now I'm on a mission to create community for other BIPOC women to complete their doctorate degrees. Join me as I discuss the ups and downs of pursuing a doctoral degree. I'll be sharing personal stories, and I'm bringing some friends along for revealing conversations about their doctoral journey and provide inspiration for others to level up as doc students. Hello, Dr. Emmanuela Stanislaus here with another episode of the Writing on My Mind podcast. And today I'm coming to you with a heavy heart. I'm recording this episode on the heels of the attack on the nation's capital, the attempted coup, the really despicable violence that took place at the nation's capital last week. By the time this episode airs, it will be a week since white supremacist Trump supporters violently stormed the Capitol, trespassing and bringing the certification of the electoral votes for the 2020 presidential election to a halt as Congress and Senate were evacuated due to the violence. I've had a little bit of time to process what took place, and just want to talk about it in terms of how this impacts doc students. Uh, the insurrectionists felt like this country and the vote was being stolen from them. This was particularly harmful given the fact that, Georgia and the Democrats were celebrating the results of the Georgia runoff election, where Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff won. We should have been celebrating the organizing work of the queen that is Stacey Abrams and the work of other grassroots organizations. And the celebration was short-lived, and I'm guessing that it was probably by design, or even, the results of Democrats winning the presidential election and then also taking over the Senate. And there was literally no ability to cover the win in Georgia because the news waves were basically hijacked by the, you know, attack that was incited by the President of the United States, which is just, crazy. And also, just to be clear, it didn't start with him. We know that white supremacy is the fabric of the United States. And he just tapped into something that white supremacists, have been able to cling on and have been emboldened to do what it is that they're doing right now. I was at work when this happened, and I've been working at home since March, and so I keep saying at work, but I was at home, and jumped off of a Zoom call around like 2:35-ish or so, and went on Twitter to just check on, some tweets or to maybe even tweet something. I can't remember now. And you know how sometimes you go on Twitter, it's like you're just being into an ongoing conversation, right? And I saw a comment and I was like, what are they talking about? It probably said something about like the Capitol being evacuated. And I was just so confused. And I typically don't turn on the TV. Like, I just try not to watch TV really. And it just prompted me to turn on the news because I was like, what is happening? Maybe there's something more to, whatever they said. And when I turned it on, I really couldn't even believe my eyes. Like, I didn't know what I was looking at. And for me, the craziness on top of this was like just the double standard and white privilege, which was at play and clear as day. And it was maddening, which is, why I want to come on this podcast and talk about self-care. And self-care is so important during these times where there are all of these things happening in the world that are just chipping away at who we are, our happiness, and our well-being. There are agents of white supremacy who are literally attempting to steal our joy, our rights, our focus, our mental health, among a host of other things. And, I am committed to building a community that pours positivity into women of color doctoral students and allows them for support in a world that wants to silence us, to be quite honest. And how do I know that they're trying to silence us? It's because of these election results and the way that white supremacists feel as if their power is slipping away from them. And we can definitely see some of these views playing out in higher education as well. And that's what this podcast is about. And that's what the Writing on My Mind community that I'm building is about. And it's about to launch next month. And you will definitely want to be in there. So be sure to click the link in the show notes or visit my website at writingonmymindpodcast.com to add yourself to the wait list. It will be a safe community where we'll be sharing resources with each other, we'll be cheering each other on, collaborating, and helping each other to realize the goal of graduating with your doctorate, especially in this climate that, like we said, do not want to see us succeed and want to silence us. So, backing up to last Wednesday, I got sucked in and I wasn't able to shift back to work, to do the work that I needed to do. I couldn't help but think about some of you who might feel distracted or traumatized by the violence and are experiencing some barriers in your programs that illustrate that white supremacy is alive and well. The doctoral journey is all about being productive, right? We celebrate productivity. And given the violence that took place at the Capitol and also the pandemic that is still going on, you need to prioritize yourself to preserve your mental health, but also to help you to accomplish your goal. And I say all of this to really talk about self care. It is critical as you are pursuing your doctorate. One of my favorite feminists and writers is Audre Lorde, who wrote about self care. And she says, caring for myself is not self indulgence, it is self preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. And that's from her book, A Burst of Light and Other Essays. And what I get from this quote is the idea that taking care of yourself goes beyond Self Care Sunday, right? That everyone is doing. It's more about incorporating actions that will replenish you to be able to engage in the daily fight against oppressive systems in academia and white supremacy in general. So, since the violence that took place on that Wednesday, I had a meeting with a coaching client that I have, and she was struggling with focusing on her work. And that encouraged me to sit down and record this podcast. So some of the tips that I am sharing today are some things that I have encouraged her to do to help her to, pour into herself so that she can then be able to shift and continue on with the work that she needs to do. So let's talk about ways you can self care so that you can resume your doctoral studies. I have 9 recommendations of things that I have learned personally, but also have shared with some of my coaching clients that can help you through your program and give you the cheat code for success. So, number one, rest. Give yourself permission to rest. If you listen to episode 5, where I talk about vision boarding your way to success, I shared that I want to rest more and improve my relationship with time. And that's kind of tied to women of color who tend to get this label of being a superwoman. And as a result, we just keep going. We push ourselves when we're tired, when we're sick, when we're overwhelmed. And it is important for us to prioritize rest. Take the time that you need physically, emotionally, mentally to reset so that you can come back to your writing more refreshed and full, and maybe even having some inspiration to add to the work that you're doing based off of the rest that you took. If you're not already doing so, I would totally encourage you to follow Nat Ministry on Instagram and Twitter. Their focus is all about encouraging Black women, women of color, to rest. And they have a post that reads, "Reimagine rest. Anything that slows you down and connects you with your mind and body is rest." So, in my mind, rest can literally mean sleeping, taking a nap, but it can also mean meditating, connecting with your breath, and things of that nature. So, number one, rest. The second thing on my list is limiting social media and the news. I don't know about you, but I am on information overload. And all of this, social media and the news, is highly addicting. Wednesday, I literally got stuck in wanting to stay abreast on, the latest news. I wanted to know what was going to happen to these terrorists, right? And so, like, I sat there for hours waiting to see what the response was going to be. And the sad thing is, nothing was done, which impacted me in a way that I wasn't prepared for. So pay attention to how this constant barrage of information makes you feel. That's my advice for you because I felt it firsthand. And the thing to keep in mind is that you may not even be aware of how it's impacting your mood. But the good thing is that there are ways to address this if you have a hard time stepping away from social media. You can remove apps from your phone, you can turn off the notifications, or for my Apple phone listeners, you can go into your settings and set screen time limits for each of your apps. So you can do this by going to settings and then you select the screen time option. Then you'll click on the app limits so that you can set individual time limits for each of the apps on your phone. This was a recent discovery for me and a game changer, not only for my mental health, but also for my productivity. So that was number 2, limiting social media. Number 3, fresh air. This is free and available to everyone. And it's so important, especially as we're staying at home, most of us, due to the pandemic. And for me, I really do not leave my house very often, and I can feel my mood shift throughout the day because I am staying inside. And getting some fresh air and some sun is very important for your mood. Vitamin D and endorphins really work in improving your mood. So go out for a walk and spend at least 5 minutes out in the sun, and you will start to see some things shift within you on a positive note in terms of how you feel, your outlook on your day and life. And so try to incorporate that into your day. Number 4, mental health. Investing in mental health is a big part of self care. I've talked about the importance of taking care of your mental health on other episodes, and that's something that I will continue to do because I have seen such positive results. Seeing a mental health counselor really helped me to talk through some of the anxiety that I was experiencing and feelings of overwhelm, among other things. It takes some time to find someone that you gel with. So embrace the process, stick with it, and be okay with changing out your therapist until you find the right one that is right for you. If finances is an issue, you definitely want to check out resources like Talkspace, which make mental health more accessible for others. So that is number 4, mental health. Number 5 is journaling. I'm sure that you've heard about the benefits of journaling. The biggest benefit, in my opinion, is getting things out of my head and heart and onto paper. I look at it as a literal transfer of energy for me. And after doing it, it allows me to be able to shift to the things that need my attention. And if you're a little like me and have a hard time facing a blank page, like what do I write on here? Here are some quick prompts that you can use on a daily basis. So you can ask yourself, how do you feel right now? And have responses based off of that. Another prompt is, what is something that made me smile today? And, answering from that point of view. Also, what are you grateful for? And, just using these prompts to get yourself, going in terms of journaling your thoughts and feelings. So that was number 5, journaling. Number 6, create a self-care kit. So this might be something new to you, but this kit should include things that bring you joy. And additionally, a bonus piece is if you include things that engage the different senses. The idea is to go to this when you start to feel overwhelmed or if you feel stressed out. So, the best strategy is to put it together when you don't need it so that when you do need it, it's already there to help you. And I don't know about you, but when I'm stressed out, I can't really think clearly. And so I may not be able to know what I need in that time that will help to soothe me and to calm me down. So your kit could be like an old shoebox or something of that nature. So some ideas of things that you may want to add are maybe a candle, a book, a letter to yourself, a playlist of your favorite songs, stress ball, a copy of an adult coloring book, your favorite snack or candy, or maybe even a journal for you to write in. And again, these are your favorite things and things that will help you to focus on yourself during your time of need. So that was number 6, creating a self care kit. Number 7, do something that makes you happy. Call someone, dance, enjoy a glass of wine. You can also choose to do nothing at all. That's right. Doing nothing is a form of self care. Anything that you choose to do is the right answer. So, again, do something that makes you happy and brings you joy. Number 8, positive affirmations. This month, I've been focusing on positive affirmations on my Instagram account. So if you're not following me, make sure to do so. I'm at Dr. Emmanuela. But anyways, positive affirmations are statements that you tell yourself to help combat negative self-talk and self-sabotaging behavior that you might be experiencing. So you have to think to yourself, what messages are you telling yourself that are detrimental to your mental health and success? And the bottom line is that those messages are lies and they're not your truth. So, with positive affirmations, the idea is that you're speaking truth to yourself. You say them out loud and repeat them to yourself. You can even place them around your house or office to help shift your way of thinking. And some of my favorites are I am worthy, I am enough, I am on the right path to get to my desired destination. So, again, what messages are you telling yourself? That's number 8. So, having positive affirmations for self care. And then the last thing for self care is to feel all the feels. Don't ignore or try to push aside how you feel. You should either try to decompress with yourself or talk it out with some trusted friends or maybe even a mental health professional. Keeping your thoughts and feelings inside really and truly only hurt you. And I noticed, especially with the case of what took place at the nation's capital, that I was holding things inside. I had this knot in my throat, and I think that it was all because of my frustration with the situation. I was just super upset and sad because of the constant mistreatment of Black people and people of color in general. And this was really an example of the lengths that white supremacists will go to continue to oppress Black and brown people. And they did all of that, and there was virtually no repercussions at all. And as I watched this, I really felt as if violence was being inflicted on me by seeing the white privilege at play. And so, this tip of feeling all the feels, what I ended up doing was, spending some time listening to some Erica Badu and Sade and allowed myself to get in my emotions. And I gave myself permission to be sad because our country is being attacked by people who refuse to believe the truth and are guided by the need to oppress others who both do not look like them and do not have their beliefs. It's a scary time, and I think feeling all the feels is appropriate for me so that I can get up again and continue to fight for justice. So that was everything that I had in terms of self care and some of the advice that I've been giving to my clients. I'm realizing that prioritizing self care is vital during these times. Please, please, please take care of yourself. I know that you're tired. I'm tired too. And some of you may be engaging in research that explores the injustices faced by people of color. So you may feel like there's no escaping. And that's why you have to prioritize self care. And, I gave you those tips, but I also want to know what practices you're engaging in for self care. Send me a message on Instagram or Twitter, or even send an email at writingonmymindpodcast@gmail.com to let me know what you're doing. And also, don't forget to send questions that you have for a chance for me to answer with one of my future guests on an upcoming episode. And lastly, don't forget to sign up to be on the Writing on My Mind community waitlist, as we will be engaging in a number of self care practices, which include being in community with one another in a safe space. So you can do that by, again, visiting the website at writingonmymindpodcast.com. And if you're loving this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating and share it with your friends. We want to grow the Writing on My Mind community. So Help us spread the word. See you on the next episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Writing on My Mind podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast, make sure you subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts and spread the word to other women of color doctoral students to grow our community. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dr. Emmanuela. And if you're looking for a group of real women of color doctoral students to help you accomplish your goals, join the Writing on My Mind community by visiting writingonmymindpodcast.com. See you on the next episode.